Greetings and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host today as we journey through this time together. This podcast is the digital arm of Grace Life Coaching, and I want to thank you for being part of the work that we're doing. If you are finding benefit in this, if you're finding benefit in what we're talking about and what we're doing, then I would encourage you to share it out there. Put it out there on your email, put it out there on your Facebook or your Instagram. If you're connecting to us through social media, then share us. I'd love to see where you're at. Like us, follow us, give me a tag so I know where you're at. And if you're listening to us on one of the platforms, Spotify or iHeartRadio or Amazon Music, then follow us and give us a rating and review. And now we're also on YouTube, so you can see me. You get a chance to look at me and kind of get the surrounding of where I'm at, because some people are just visual learners. It's better for them if they're going to see it. And this is a platform that's definitely usable, so I want to take advantage of it, and I want to thank you for being part of the work that we're doing. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can reach out to me at gracelifecoaching.com. That is my website. If you want to direct message me, or if you have some suggestions or questions, or you want to do some coaching, you want to do some interaction, as long as we have a common language, then we can coach. As long as you and I have a common scenario, a common language that we can work with, then we can do some coaching. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see where you're at. I'd love to see, kind of what you're doing, what you got going on, and how, if I can help in any way, be part of your life or part of your work. It would be really, really, truly awesome. So thank you for that. It's great to be here. It's great to have you and I really do appreciate the fact that you're spending this time together. I say often that time is our greatest commodity, and time is what we have the least of. We can get money, money can come, money can go, relationships can come, relationships can go, but time is our greatest asset. And so for you to be using some of this time, some of your precious time, and you may be doing something else while you're listening, and that's great. I often listen to podcasts while I'm on the treadmill, or even in the shower, or if I'm working outside, or if I'm working around the house, or if I'm moving around the church here, then I'll listen to podcasts. I'll listen to things. I'll have an earbud in, and I'll listen to information. So however you're engaging this, thank you for being part of it. Thank you for being part of the work. I'm really trying to build up my YouTube page here and get the YouTube stuff out. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'd encourage you to subscribe to my channel. Again, and share it out there, post it out there on your social media. It'd be awesome to kind of get that so that people can connect in this way. YouTube is a really powerful platform, and a lot of people are using it. And so this is just another way for me to be able to reach out and be part of the work that we're doing. So thanks for being part of that, and thanks for being part of the work. So I want to talk today about validation. We as humans, we need validation. We long for validation. Validation is part of our identity. We want validation in our relationships. We want validation in our families. We want validation in our work. Validation is what drives us. We want someone else to tell us that we're doing a good job, that we matter, that we have meaning, that we have identity. Validation is so important for us as humans. One of the challenges that we have with this big brain, this big intellect, this incredible thought processes, is it creates things called self-doubt. We do doubt ourselves. We doubt our identity. We doubt our reality. We doubt whether we're doing a good enough job, even if we know that we're doing a good enough job. Our feelings, our emotions, they can get all in the way and muddled up. And so we seek validation. Oftentimes, we seek validation from those outside of us, and that's great. I mean, we seek validation from our spouses and our kids or our parents or our bosses, and validation is really important. It's important to have a circle of people around us who validate us, who tell us that we matter, that we're important, that we're doing a good job. In our work sphere, in our workspace, we want to have our bosses and our supervisors tell us that we're doing a good job. We want to hear that because it's important for us. Especially if we have integrity and we care, then that validation is so important to who we are and what we bring and what we do. So validation is important. And it's important to have people around us that validate us, of course. Having people around us that don't validate us, that just tear us down, that creates in us an imbalance. That creates in us a place of fear, and a place of anger, a place of hurt. So we want to have people around us that validate us, of course. But one of the most important people that we need around us to validate us is us. Self-validation is so important. Because you can have all these people around you telling you that you're doing a good job, but if your brain, if your known narrative is saying you're doing a terrible job, then those voices don't matter. We as humans need that external validation, of course, but we also need to work on our own internal validation to be able to validate ourselves. And that does really two things. One, it gives us our own identity. It gives us our own power to raise ourselves up. But what it also does is then it also allows us to agree with and accept the words of those around us. Look, if someone comes in and says, hey, you're doing a really good job, and you think you're doing a terrible job, then their words don't matter. You're not going to use their words to validate what you do. You're going to use your own words. But if we have that self-validation, then the words of others, we allow them to have meaning in our lives. We allow them to have meaning in our identity. So self-validation is really, really important. The ability to validate ourselves. Now, make sure that I want to be clear, because validation is not, it's not meant to be some kind of, I'm doing great, and it's not meant to be blasé or whitewashing things. Okay, we can self-validate and still be critical and still be hold ourselves accountable. Okay, we're allowed to do that. We can do that. Validation doesn't have to be perfection and praise all the time. But validation is meant to be something that helps to move us forward. It helps to create a better identity or a stronger self. So I want to share with you a few things that sound like this is what self-validation would look like, would sound like. This is what self-validation would be like. And I'm leaning on the Brain Coach. The Brain Coach is one of the it's one of the Instagram accounts I follow, and I came across this a little while ago, and I felt it was really good to kind of mirror some of this and talk about it and bring it up because the Brain Coach makes some really important points about self-validation. Self-validation is so important. We should be validating ourselves. We should be validating our efforts. We don't have to validate. We don't have to only wait till successes to validate. We should be validating our efforts. Okay? Validating our efforts is what helps us to get better. When we seek validation only in perfection or only in finish or success, then we're going to starve for validation. Particularly when those around us are only going to really validate us if we have either great achievements or if there's going to be some kind of success at the end. So we want to make sure that we as individuals can offer ourselves some form of self-validation because those can be the only things that keep us moving or keep us moving forward. So self-validations, one of the things about self-validations is that they're always I statements. Again, and for us as people, I statements are really, really hard to make. We struggle with making I statements. There's the word just went right out of a resistance. There's almost a resistance to making I statements because oftentimes I statements can be, they can sound selfish or they can feel selfish. We can feel like we're being selfish if we make an I statement. And so, so we're told from a very young age, we're taught not to use I statements. Okay. I am, I feel, I did, I think, I want. Okay, we're taught not to use those statements. We're taught to use statements like you are, you have, you want, you can, all right? But we're told that I statements are selfish. And then, and then we start to think that self-validation is selfish. And we don't want to think that. We don't want to think that self-validation is selfish. Now, we can make statements about ourselves that are selfish and arrogant and puffed up and prideful. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is statements that do build us up. They're I statements. A lot of them are I am statements, or I have statements, or I did statements, or I will statements. Statements that start with I because they're about myself. This is self-validation. I'm speaking about me. And they're positive. Even if they're challenging, they're positive. And that's the thing, is we want the self-validation statements to be positive. I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Have you ever made a decision that says, if I look back and that was such a bad decision. Maybe it was a bad decision, but you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. You had all the information before you at the time. So that's self-validation. So rather than, beating myself down saying, I'm such a terrible person because I did this thing. You know what? You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Now I know better, but I did the best that I could with what I knew at the time. Okay. Now the process of human existence is we learn, we grow, we expand, and that's great. But we also can look back with self-validation and say, you know what, at the time, I did the best I could with what I knew. All the knowledge I had accumulated at that time, I did the best with what I knew. I tried my best, and that is enough. Okay? I tried my best, and that is enough. Again, that's another self-validating statement. You know, again, and you know, sometimes when we try our best, when we give it our best shot, it fails. And we want to beat ourselves or condemn ourselves for the response as somehow as if everything we try is going to succeed. But that's not the case. That's not always how it works. We can try our best and fail. But we want to validate the fact that we did try our best. And if we didn't try our best, then we want to hold ourselves accountable for that, of course. But if we tried our best, then we want to say, I tried my best and I failed. That's all I can ask for. I tried my best, and I can be comfortable with that. That's enough. I can't beat myself or condemn myself for what I can't do, for what I can't do. Today has been a difficult day for me. You know, look, we don't always have great days. We don't always have wonderful days. Some days are just difficult. They're difficult because we have difficult conversations. They're difficult because we didn't get a good night's sleep the night before. They're difficult for a number of different reasons. We don't need to have a reason. We can just identify that today's a difficult day for me, rather than saying, you know what, I'm not at my best. I'm not doing everything that I can. I'm failing. I'm falling short. I'm tired. Today's just a difficult day for me. Today's just a difficult day for me, and that's okay. Nothing more needs to be said. Today is just a difficult day for me. That's self-validation. It's not who I am. It's not that I'm somehow deficient or less than. I'm still strong, but today's just a difficult day for me. You know, when I look at days in the calendar, when I look at days in the week, some days are more difficult than others. And I've learned to breathe through them and acknowledge the fact that not every day is a good day for me. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a good day every day for me. I feel misunderstood. I feel misunderstood. I feel like my desire, my passion, my heart is misunderstood. That's a statement of self-validation. You know, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're an idiot, nobody cares, nobody understands you, you know, or you're not smart enough to make it clear. No, I just feel misunderstood. I feel misunderstood in my point about this, or in my understanding about that, or my passion for this. I feel misunderstood. These are self-validation statements. Not everyone will like me, and that's okay. You know, if you haven't learned that lesson in life, and I know a lot of people haven't learned that lesson or don't want to learn that lesson, it is a very powerful lesson. Not everyone is going to like you. But here's what I've learned. If everyone likes you, you're most likely not going to like yourself. Because in order for everyone to like you, you have to sacrifice so much of yourself. Because, I mean, some people are going to like some portion of you and not like another portion of you, and another person's going to like that other portion of you and not like this portion of you. In order for everyone to like you, you will stand for nothing. You will have no identity, no place, no passion, no moral compass, no ethical code, because you are looking to please everybody. And it's okay. Not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. Now, this is not to say that you should intentionally wake up in the morning and go out and hurt people. No, that's not how we live. But if we live a true self-validating identity and say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I perceive to be correct, this is what I've learned and I hold on to, well, there's going to be those who don't like me for that. And that's okay. That is truly okay. And, you know, it is. And I can validate myself by saying that my job isn't to get everybody to like me. As a matter of fact, if everybody likes me, then I'm truly not going to like myself. I'm truly not going to like myself. I am proud of me for challenging my fears and doubts. Now, I mean, that's a really good self-validation piece. I am proud of me for challenging my fears and doubts. I'm proud of me for facing down what causes me to be afraid or doubtful about myself, because I'm not going to grow and change and be better if I don't face my fears and doubts. So again, and think about it, maybe your fear ultimately won. Maybe your doubts ultimately consumed yourself. Maybe your self-talk ultimately turned negative, but you challenged it. You challenged it. And when we challenge those things, then those things become they have less power over us. We start to take control of who we are and what we have. There's so many more, self-validation statements. I am beautiful. I am important. A lot of I am statements. If you ever listen to affirmations, I was looking for the word. I'm like tenderolling it out there. If you listen to affirmations, I am statements. Okay, and some of them are kind of. If you say these affirmation statements, you're going to have money in your bank account next week. Well, maybe that's the case. But a lot of self-validation is I am statements, those affirmations. I am beautiful. I am important. I am necessary. I have value. I have feelings. And my feelings matter. My words matter. I'm right in standing up for myself, even if it's hard. I'm proud of myself for having those difficult conversations. I'm proud of myself for challenging my weight or my eating pattern. I'm proud of myself for journaling. I'm in this space because I'm working towards it. Those I am statements, those affirmations, those are self-validation. Now again, and they're not meant to puff us up. They're not meant to be statements of arrogance or selfishness. We don't use them that way. There are those who do. But they use them as a mask, as a shield. No, we don't use them that way. How we use our self-validation is to continue to press forward and pick ourselves up and give ourselves that love and that support that maybe we're not going to get somewhere else. But it also kind of helps fill in the holes. I mean, think about it. If you need validation, if you're in a place where you need validation and the only time you get validation is external, you're going to go looking for it. And if you can't find it, then you're going to find a way to either numb that validation or fill it in with something that you shouldn't be. So we are allowed to enter into self-validation. We're encouraged to do it. We're encouraged, and we should be encouraged. And we should be encouraging those around us to self-validate. So that they're not always depending on someone else, so that we're not always depending on someone else for validation and for hope and for meaning. But we can also self-generate it. We can bring it out from within, which is a really powerful and strong capability. It's a really powerful and strong technique to help us move forward. Because, a lot of times this world's not really out to pick us up. It's out to beat us down, or it's just out to ignore us. And either way, we need to be able to generate our own validation energy and our own peace and our own ability. All right, my friends, that's what I got for you for this session. I hope that it's helpful. I really, truly do. And as always, if you're connecting on YouTube, which would be awesome, this is kind of the first, talking head type thing. The last episode I did, I forgot to hit record. So as we learn, we grow. And so when I got to the end of the episode, I realized that that's why the last YouTube episode was just the picture, because I forgot to hit record. I didn't forget to hit record this time, so you're going to get to see me. So if you're connecting with me through YouTube, then thanks for coming out onto that platform. I'd encourage you to subscribe to my channel and definitely then share it out there. I'm going to put the YouTube channel in the show notes for the podcast for those who would like to check it out and experience it. And if you're listening to us on one of the platforms, Spotify or iHeartRadio or Amazon Music, then please share us out there. As always, it is by your sharing that we're able to do what we're called to do. We're able to move this mission forward. We're able to move this information forward. And if you want to reach out to me, either side, whether on YouTube or on the podcast, GRACELifeCoaching.com is my website, and you can reach out to me, direct message me, or what have you. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to communicate with you. I really would. And as always, here at Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.